Yes. We are back. Okay, for the next part of our show right now. And Cuzzo, we miss you on the show. We know you are busy right now, so we're gonna get you back really soon. Salute to Zach as well, who is covering March Madness as well. So that's why he's not here. We got a big team here. We got a good team full of good guys with good personalities and bring good perspectives to the show. Okay, and I think we complement each other really well here. But anyway, let's move on because clear NFL free agency is currently going on still. And obviously we can't talk about everything, right? We talked about Aaron Rodgers for 30 minutes. We talked about Lamar Jackson for another 30 minutes. So clearly we have a lot to cover, but we can't make it all on this show. So we're gonna just speed it up a little bit, but still take our time. We're gonna do a little game. Fill in the blank, NFL free agency frenzy. Okay, so the first one that you see at the bottom of the screen, the most underrated free agent pickup is who?
For me, I'm going with Javon Hargrave to the 49ers. I thought that pickup was fantastic to me. I think that was I don't think anybody, if they saw it, they were just like, oh, all right, that's cool. The nose tackle from the Eagles going to the 49ers. I just think that defense, they know how to contain a strong defensive line on a year-to-year basis. It's just that defensive line with him and Bosa is just ridiculous, to say the least. That defense just, for whatever reason, increases intensity on a year in and year out basis. And I don't know if it's an underrated free agent pickup to me, but I mean in general, but to me it's underrated because I can just imagine the nightmares quarterbacks are gonna have having to try, the coaches having to try to scheme to block Hargrave and Bosa on that same line at the same time. I just see the fear in people's eyes when they see Fred Warner lurking already. To have that kind of pressure, immense pressure, getting to the quarterback on a night in, night out, I mean on a week-to-week basis, is ridiculous to me. And I think that defense only gets better somehow, some way on a year-to-year basis. I just don't understand it. Hargrave to me was a fantastic pickup. Like I said, I know it was a big deal, but I feel like that was an underrated free agent pickup to me because I feel like it hasn't been talked about in the masses as much as it should have. I feel like it should still be getting more praise for the 49ers to bring in a guy like that on that defensive line and only making their defense a bigger monster than it already was. So for me, I think Javon Hargrave to the 49ers was the most underrated pickup thus far.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Myers to the Raiders. And the reason why I picked them specifically is because they got the most flack. And I'm saying to myself, maybe it's not as bad as what people think. Now, a lot of people call this move a lateral move, right? Just really, Derek Carr, did you even upgrade? And listen, the Raiders have made a lot of bad decisions. I'm not going to be the one to make excuses for them, right? Literally, they got 100 pick overall for Darren Waller and Derek Carr together combined when you think about it. Literally. Two of the cornerstones of your franchise. You got literally, because Derek Carr, you didn't get nothing because he was a free agent. That's crazy, right? Darren Waller, 100 pick. Literally, you got that for these two guys. But when you talk about Jimmy G, he brings a playoff resume. He brings a 40-17 record. He brings winning football. Now, we can sit here and say, well, he don't got the arm talent like Derek Carr because he don't. But he brings winning football. And I think when you have Jacoby Myers along with him, you got two schematic scheme players from Josh McDaniel's system in the past to be in Josh McDaniel's system in the present. And I think that's what makes sense because even if a quarterback is an upgrade, and Derek Carr's not like a way upgrade over Jimmy G, it's like Derek Carr's better, but Jimmy G is a little tier below. And now you take Jimmy G's familiarity within the offense, now that gap is narrowed to the point where it's even. And I think when you talk about what they wanted, they didn't want Jimmy Garoppolo. They ain't say, oh, we want to go all in for Jimmy G. They wanted Tom Brady. Tom Brady never showed up. They wanted Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers never showed up. So they settled for Jimmy G. And you had to take that risk by removing Derek Carr to go all in for your plan A. But you had a plan B. And plan B was Jimmy G. And now, if you have a long-term plan, which I hope you do, some insurance, because Jimmy G is not going to be a guy that's going to be healthy for 3 years, maybe you draft the quarterback with the pick they have, move up a little bit, or take the Kentucky kid, Will Lewis, and now you have an insurance policy on Jimmy G. Jacoby Myers, underrated slot receiver. You plug him alongside not Darren Waller, he left, but Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfro. And Jimmy G, all he has to do is play point guard. Josh McDaniels want that guy to play point guard, to dish out the ball to the playmakers and let them do something with it. And that's why I think this move is underrated.
Well, I'm going to go with Jamal Williams. Jamal in Detroit, he had 17 touchdowns. He had 1,000-yard season. Going to the Saints, it really helps him out. It really gives Alvin Kamara a bruiser back, a guy who can soften up the defense a little bit, and then allow Alvin to do his thing. But I don't think Alvin's that. He's not that sledgehammer to kind of really soften things up. And I think it also is a benefit to Derek Carr. Derek Carr plays his best when the offense can run the football effectively, and he can come out of that with a little play action. They've got some pieces on the outside with Olave and Michael Thomas if he can stay healthy. But I do like the move for the Saints. It rounds out that offense and really allow them to use Derek Carr the way he is successful. So, really good underrated pickup there.
The biggest loser of NFL free agency is, and I
The
would love to
Chiefs.
go ahead, Disney.
The Chiefs. You can't. So you go and get Juju, and then you let him walk. And then who is Pat throwing to? I understand it's Andy Reid, but at the end of the day, people are still getting better around you. That's a tough division. It didn't really live up to its hype last year for various reasons, but that's a tough division. And people are those though you can expect everyone around you to get better, and you got worse with no really true number one. You got a bunch of threes and a two maybe, and some of them aren't even signed. So this wide receiver market isn't that great. And I understand Andy Reid did more with less, people would say this year, but you clearly got worse at that position. You only have, Kelsey, and Kelsey's getting up in age, and I'm not saying he's not producing, but man, you can't just count on him and a unproven Sky Moore and whoever else you got that really are just like punt returners or special teams players. I mean, they've got to do something. And it ain't go out and get OBJ. You know what I'm saying? They've got to have some longevity there. They got to have some youth and longevity. Maybe they trust the draft. Maybe they're just looking for trying to do the Patriot thing with not having a whole bunch of big names, but still getting the job done. You do have a quarterback that could be likened to a Tom Brady that can carry that out. But I think it's the Chiefs.
Zay?
For me, I'm gonna go to Buccaneers. I just think they had a major issue once Brady left at quarterback that they needed to address, or maybe trade up for a draft pick to bring in some young guys. Something like the Buccaneers, they're in cap space hell right now. It's difficult to really move around, especially with the contracts Evans has, Godwin has, Fournette leaving. I think they needed to do more than just bring in Baker Mayfield at quarterback. I understand he's a cheaper option, but I felt like they could have did something along the lines, even bringing a Jimmy G or something along the lines of just like keeping them relevant in that division. Even though Derek Carr went there, Jamal Williams went there to the Saints in the NFC North division. I feel like they had an opportunity to still add somebody to their team and still be competitive and fight for that division. They won it last year. And I think they still had a shot if they would have brought in the right guy at the right position. I think, the Buccaneers had so many injuries on that offensive line last year. I think a couple guys walked in this offseason, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they had some type of opportunity to do something this offseason to keep themselves relevant. And I feel like they kind of just dropped the ball and not bringing in anybody that can help them at least be competitive. So I got the Buccaneers as a loser in the free agency.
If I was going the route of picking a team, I would have picked the Patriots because Bill Belichick probably didn't wake up from his hibernation yet. When you look at the AFC East and Rodgers going there and the Dolphins boasting up their defense and all that, you still got Josh Allen. I would have picked them. But I'm not going to go with a team. I'm going to go with the running backs in the NFL. I'm going to say the running back position in the NFL is the biggest loser here because in some ways their position is very important to a team's success, but yet there's this connotation about them and their longevity in the sport. You talk about Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs. They got slammed with the franchise tag, the $10 million tender. And it was like the $10 million Happy Meal they got tagged with. I mean, you talk about Saquon Barkley, he was the vocal point of the Giants offense. Without him, they're not doing much. You talk about Josh Jacobs, same daggone thing. He was the only one that showed up on offense, him and Adams, right? And I thought Adams had a little down year, a little bit, right? Compared to his standards of being the best wide receiver in the league. And they got hit with the $10 million tag. You look at the other market, Derrick Henry's on the trade block. Miles Sanders had to go from the defending NFC champs to the Panthers team that's clearly in a rebuilding stage, even though he got paid a little bit more than what other guys got. So you could say yay to the payday, but still, Mayday, I need help because I'm carrying the Panthers all by myself. Okay. You talk about Jamal Williams and how he had to get his money elsewhere. The Lions let him go. He had to go to the Saints, right? They was building something good on the line. James Robinson signed a flat fee to join the Patriots, $8 million, right? At one point, we thought this cat would have made a little bit more than that, a bigger payday when he first burst onto the scene. So you talk about the running back market. Once again, the value is not there for the running back position. And as Dujane said, in the draft, there's a whole lot of guys that are running backs that could be drafted. So I think that played a little part in the factors we see today of this running back movement and how they are still underpaid. So I'm going to go running back market as my biggest loser. Anyway, how about our biggest winner of NFL free agency? Who would that be?
Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears. You look at what they were to do to get DJ Moore. They bring in Trey Edmonds. They bring in TJ Edwards. They bring in Walker. They bring in the right guard. They're doing everything they need to do to solidify important positions on the field and providing a little bit extra protection up front. DJ Moore is a guy that has great potential and really just hasn't been able to have a quarterback that can get him the ball. I think Justin Fields is growing as a talent. He took a step last year, and with these pieces, now you have a defense you can rely on, but you also gave him some weapons. You gave him something add to the cupboard that can help take the tops off of defenses, help defenses to be worried about that deep ball and opening up at the middle of the field. And now that's where Fields can operate. And with his mobility, he can create different types of mismatches as well because of his ability to run. And linebackers, we all know how. Well, I don't think sometimes teams value them, but they are very important. And a guy like Trey Edmonds really brings the ability to be able to, he can get sideline to sideline. He can do pretty decent in coverage, but he sure as heck is going to be lethal at stopping the run. And we know how important that is in this day and age where people think it's pass. But the run game is still important. Making your team one-dimensional is always going to be key. So and then they were able to move down. They get some, capital as well. Man, I mean, as a GM, you're sitting back right now and smoking a cigar. So hopefully, with as the draft comes along, you can also make that pay dividends as well.
I'm going to put some pep in my step here because we're headed for time. I'm going to go with the Giants. I think for me, when you talk about free agency, sometimes it's not the transactions that you make that set you atop. Sometimes it's the guys you retained. And I think when you talk about the Giants, they had a very tough spot. I thought they had the toughest spot in the offseason. Do I overpay Daniel Jones a little bit to keep Saquon Barkley? How does that dynamic work? And I think Joe Sheen, he was able to craft a reasonable contract to have a deal where everybody wins. Daniel Jones on his yearly salary, he gets the money he wants, $40 million a year. But also, I can escape from him after the third year. So I'm not tied into him. And also, I keep my guy in Saquon. But not only that, they were still able to add a guy like Darren Waller, the tight end, to the team where they got him off the clearance rack. And I understand that he missed 20 of 34 regular season games. And he's injury prone. He got to stay on the field. But because of the investment, it wasn't really a large investment. They got him off the clearance rack. Him and Paris Campbell, who they got from the Colts, who also is injury prone. But the things I like about those two deals is that they are cheap. So it's not a lot of risk involved. And those are guys that can help give Daniel Jones some weapons to throw the ball to. Now, all you got to do pretty much is get another receiver, possibly sign an Odell or trade for a D-Hop. And now you are in serious contention for the NFC East. I'm going to go Giants.
For me, I'm gonna go with the New Orleans Saints. I think they were able to restructure some contracts over there to take them out of that cap space mayhem that was over there happening since Sean Payton left. They was able to add a quarterback. Their current franchise quarterback, I guess, for the next 5-6 seasons. I forgot how long that contract is, but that's their guy for the foreseeable future. It puts them in a contending position to win that division. With Alvin Kamara, and then also adding Jamal Williams for $8 million 3-year guaranteed. That was a beautiful contract, and to be able to add all those additions on offense, it was what they needed. The Saints defense wasn't a slouch. I think they was like middle of the pack, to say the least. But then their offense was really where the question marks was. So the fact that they were able to bring in Derek Carr, a quarterback, and also improve the running game by not only having Alvin Kamara, but also adding in a Jamal Williams, who's a very hard runner on that not great, but solid offensive line in New Orleans Saints. I think that's something that, they should pat themselves on the back for. I know that their front office is extremely happy with the outcome of adding weapons to the offense, despite them not really having the money to do so. So, I think that for me right now is the biggest winner of the NFL free agency. Please like and subscribe for all the up-to-date content. You've been slinging shows left and right, slinging content left and right. Please don't miss anything. If you do, like, subscribe, leave a comment, or leave a question, something you may want to answer, something you may have. All ideas are great ideas. Nothing's a dumb question.